There are people who say Octavia tried to tell us, and they name her as sort of a prophet of the days that we are experiencing now.
People who are bringing America to a kind of fascism.
The number of would-be leaders who seem to be willing to sacrifice half their country if they can just rule over the rest.
Global warming is one of those problems.
And there are more and more poor people, and there are the few rich people who are richer than ever.
Who live in incredibly rich countries, but who can't really find any way in themselves to share the wealth with their people.
We're thinking more about the building of prisons than of schools and libraries.
Food prices going sky high. We can't grow what we used to grow.
Their religion is the only one they're willing to tolerate.
We get fewer and fewer middle-class people because their jobs have gone off to some low-wage country.
When we talk about writers who seem to predict the future, one name always stands out: Octavia Butler, a Black woman writing science fiction in a world that often told her she didn't belong. Butler gave us stories about climate chaos, economic collapse, religious extremism, and human resilience. And in 2025, her words feel less like fiction and more like a roadmap, or better yet, some sort of warning. Today, we're going to explore who she was, what her parable novels are about, and how they speak to the world we're living in right now.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Haas.
I'm CeCe.
Today we got a hot topic for you. Octavia Estelle Butler was born in 1947 in Pasadena, California. Her father was a shoe shine man, and her mother was a maid. Growing up, Butler was as shy as she was tall.
I was a huge, timid kid. Very tiresome. I mean, I was so shy I couldn't stand myself. There were conversations that I was too shy to take part in. There were things I was too shy to do. And I was always sort of sitting back watching things happen. When I was a kid and read science fiction, the science fiction available for kids in the library that I went to was all boys' books. And you get tired of reading boys' books where the girls just kind of stand on the sideline and cheer the boys on. And I think one of the things I wanted to do when I began writing my own was be in the central, like be the one who's actually doing instead of the one who's standing off to one side watching.
When I was 12, I saw a terrible movie called Devil Girl from Mars, and I turned off the television and said to myself, I can write a better story than that. I sat down and began writing my first science fiction story.
In the 1970s and 80s, Butler broke barriers in the science fiction world, a space that was pretty much still dominated by white men. She won the Hugo and Nebula Awards multiple times, and in 1995, she became the first sci-fi writer ever to receive a MacArthur Genius Grant.
Butler wrote about power, community, survival, and change. She didn't call herself a prophet, but if you read her now, you'd be forgiven for thinking she had a crystal ball. Two of Butler's most haunting works are Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents.
Now, in the Parable of the Sower, which was published in 1993, we meet a character named Lauren Olamina, who's a young Black woman growing up in a near-future America, where climate change, economic inequality, and social collapse have turned the country into a patchwork of walled enclaves and violent chaos. Lauren lives in a gated community outside of Los Angeles, and when her neighborhood is destroyed, she's forced onto the road with other refugees, witnessing firsthand the brutality of a society unraveling.
Lauren has hyperempathy, which is a condition where she literally feels the pain of others. But her greatest gift is her vision. She creates a belief system called Earthseed. Its central truth: God is change. She believes that humanity's destiny is to adapt and spread among the stars, But to get there, people must first accept change as the only constant.
In the parable of the talents, Butler furthers Lauren's storyline.
She is a person who has a mission. She has a religion that she feels that she has discovered as opposed to created.
Yeah.
And that she feels would make humanity a little bit more survivable if they paid attention to it. She has this destiny in mind for humanity. The destiny of Earthseed, which is the name of her religion, is to take root among the stars.
It shows what happens as Lauren's dream collides with the world's fear. America becomes even more authoritarian, and a demagogue rises to power on the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Now, Butler wrote that in 1998, long before it became a real political catchphrase.
Earthseed communities face persecution from fundamentalists. Lauren loses her child, her community fractures, and she's forced to confront the sacrifices it takes to build a new world when the old one fights back. The parable novels were meant to be a trilogy, but Butler never finished the third book.
I'm working on a third parable book that will have no characters in common with the first two. It's not about the nasty future of Earth that I portray in the first two. It's about the people who decide to leave, who decide to follow the destiny of this new religion, Earthseed. The destiny of Earthseed is to take root among the stars.
Still without the third book, the first two stand as eerily accurate maps of a society that looks a lot like ours in 2025.
So let's talk about 2025.
In Parable of the Sower, Butler shows how slow collapse feels. Not one big explosion, but a steady erosion of safety nets. In 2025, we see echoes of that erosion. A pandemic tested our systems. Climate change tests them daily.
There's a very clear connection between climate change and the extreme weather that we get now, which is more extreme, more fires, more floods, more droughts. We release greenhouse gases from our cars and from our factories and from our power plants. That is warming our atmosphere. Scientists say this is precisely the kind of impact we should expect in a warming world.
And trust in government is thin. More people are organizing outside the system, creating mutual aid networks, community gardens, tiny home villages, and new ways to survive when the old ways fail.
In the parable of the talents, the backlash to new ideas is swift and violent. And as I said before, there's a charismatic leader that rises under the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Now, in 2025, these same words are shaping the politics of today.
Just look at the headlines. Project 2025 outlines plans for dramatic shifts in federal power, civil rights, and social policies with echoes of the religious fundamentalism Butler wrote about in her books. We're seeing pushes of censorship, the erosion of reproductive freedom, and the targeting of marginalized communities, just like in the parables when Earthseed communities were attacked by those who feared anything new or different.
The backlash to new ideas or anything that the powers that be don't like or agree with is often met with swift and sometimes violent opposition. We see that today in book bans, attack on bodily autonomy, and the very heavy policing of marginalized communities. Lauren's hyperempathy feels relevant also in an era of nonstop crises and social media outrage. Many of us feel the world's pain more deeply than ever. Butler asks, what do we do with that empathy? Does it paralyze us? Does it push us to act?
Her novels remind us that there is always a cost to challenging the status quo, and that faith alone won't save us. We have to organize, adapt, and resist, because when power tries to drag us backward, change is the only way forward.
She once said, "There's nothing new under the sun, but there are new suns, and that's Earthseed's promise. We can grow beyond what we think is possible, but we have to do it together."
Butler's words remind us that the future isn't fixed. We get to choose what seeds we plant now. Do we hoard power behind walls? Or do we build bridges? Do we cling to old hierarchies? Or create new ways of living that center care and adaptability?
So as we stand here in 2025, let's remember Octavia Butler, a shy Black girl who dreamed of other worlds and taught us how to survive this one. And here she is in her own written words.
Beware. All too often we say what we hear others say. We think what we are told that we think. We see what we are permitted to see. Worse, we see what we are told that we see. Repetition and pride are the keys to this. To see and to hear even an obvious lie again and again and again may be to say it almost by reflex, then to defend it because we have said it, and at last to embrace it because we've defended it, and because we cannot admit that we've embraced and defended an obvious lie. Thus, without thought, without intent, we make mere echoes of ourselves, and we say what we hear others say.
May we carry her questions forward. What will you do with change? What will you sow? Thanks for listening. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts below. What parts of Butler's parables feel closest to your life right now? Let's keep the conversation going, because the future is always being written.